this time around. Just behind us here, you can see a massive burn scar. There's no more smoke, no more fire, but there's still a danger. And that's why there are lines of firefighters right now with cutting tools like chainsaws and axes, clearing all the brush, making sure there's no fuel in case those winds pick up and carry embers. We were with CAL FIRE as they worked to clear brush before those dangerous winds hit burn zones. So you're worried about this area because there's still brush here and it's so close to those homes right there.
That's correct.
Firefighters lined up on cliffs, scaling canyons, and on the lookout.
They're putting their lives on the line to get out in front of something that most people wouldn't get in front of.
Over the weekend, California's National Guard dropping flame retardant on hot spots in the Palisades fire. After flare-ups forced new evacuations in Encino and Brentwood, triggering this eerie fire-nado. The Eaton and Palisades fire still mostly uncontained, with speculation on the origins of the infernos running rampant. The ATF now leading a newly formed task force to investigate the cause of the Palisades fire, as multiple law enforcement sources tell NBC News that a possible human cause is an early focus in this case.
They're identifying cause and origin for each of these separate fires. There's so many of them. None have been ruled out of arson.
The death toll has now reached 24 and expected to rise, including 95-year-old Delise Mama D. Curry of Altadena.
That was her refrigerator. This is where she would be.
Her granddaughter looking for her remains in what's left of her home.
Mama D, are you here?
Officials today urging residents to stay out of evacuation zones.
People are saying, I just want to go look at my house and I want to see what's left. We know that, but we have people literally looking for the remains of your neighbors.
Law enforcement in the region announcing more than 70 arrests, including looting and burglary charges. The FBI says unauthorized drones over the fire zones are now well into the double digits as they search for the drone pilot that crashed into a Canadian super scooper last week, grounding the aircraft for days. Today, the Los Angeles Unified School District reopened most of its 1,000 campuses, giving students some return to normalcy.
I've been pretty scared coming here, but but as long as the doors are open, I feel safe.
Schools damaged by the fires or inside the evacuation zones remain closed, with tens of thousands pushed from their homes, now forced to start over. One estimate says the insured losses are already at least $30 billion.
Right now, I'm trying to just keep it together to find us a place to live for us, temporary living for our family and my parents.
Andrea Heindel lost her family home, as did her parents.
How tough is it?
It is tough. There's millions of people looking in millions of different places, and so we just have to figure out one step at a time how we're going to handle it.
And with the winds bringing the possibility of new fires and destruction just like this, some homeowners plan to take matters into their own hands. Once again, Gotti Schwartz tonight with their stories.
We're gonna help you! For days, so many across Los Angeles faced off against apocalyptic wildfires. Some homeowners defying the evacuation orders, choosing to protect their properties amid the hellscape.
We need a water drop. We need a water drop.
The Los Angeles wildfires have left the city and the nation reeling, unleashing devastation on an unprecedented scale. These are no ordinary fires. They have become relentless infernos, ravaging neighborhoods, scorching over 40,000 acres, and reducing more than 12,000 structures to ash. Evacuation orders have forced over 105,000 residents to flee, while another 87,000 brace for the worst. The sheer magnitude of this disaster is staggering. Amid the chaos, some of Hollywood's most recognizable faces are facing loss, heartbreak, and the challenge of finding resilience in the aftermath.
Sprinklers, hoses, generators, pumps, and tonight facing new red flag warnings, some Angelenos say they are preparing for round two. In wealthy enclaves, rows of water trucks and private firefighters standing at the ready.
And right here we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different water trucks. There's another 3 down the way.
Those in the evacuation zones who lived to tell the tale of how they saved their streets say they did what they could with high-pressured hoses.
So we were in all of our neighbors' backyards and lugging our hoses around.
In Altadena, Felipe Carrillo saving 2 houses on his street with a garden hose.
I caught on fire a couple of times.
You caught on fire?
Yes. And so what I started doing is every once in a while, I would just spray myself with the garden hose. Just soak myself with the garden hose and continue to fight.
Fire officials say those who stay to fight the fire are putting their lives at risk. 66-year-old Victor Shaw died in the Eaton fire. His remains found holding a garden hose. Right along the coast, owners of this row of homes had their own fire hoses ready and some willing to risk their lives.
There's another hot spot that just started up. So we're hooking up our fire hoses again to put it down before the wind starts again.
When the fire rolled in, Clayton Colbert and his friends stood their ground, tapping into the hydrant and saving 6 homes.
Do you have any firefighting experience?
I do now.
Yeah. What do you think would have happened if you and your neighbors weren't here?
Oh, my house would have been gone in a matter of minutes.
Tonight, Steve Foster's home is still standing, but most of the surrounding community is gone.
It's been difficult, but we're getting through it.
Would you leave?
I'm not leaving. I've been here the whole time. I have no intentions of leaving until my neighbors are back.
And Tom, technically, it's a misdemeanor not to evacuate during the chaos, but it's not always enforced. However, firefighters say, bottom line, every moment during a firefight is precious. And if they have to be pulled off of a fire line to come save someone that is not supposed to be there, it not only jeopardizes their lives, but puts the whole community at risk. Tom?
Gotti Schwartz tonight for us in Malibu. Gotti, we thank you for that. And for those who have lost everything, another crisis has quickly emerged. Where will they find a new place to live? Here's Morgan Chesky.
We're going to find a house, I promise. I promise we'll find a house.
A promise for a new home. Ashley and Tim Palmatier are now fighting to keep amid a disaster that's ignited a citywide housing crisis.
Wait a minute.
The family of 5, 6, including their pup Apollo, one of dozens, packing an open house. After watching flames approach, then engulf their beloved Palisades home.
Wednesday afternoon, we saw footage that our entire neighborhood had burned down.
With more than 12,000 structures destroyed and potentially more to come, the demand for LA's rental market exploding overnight.
You call and you're like, hey, can I come see it? And they're like, nope, it's rented. You call another one. Hey, can I come see it today? Nope, it's rented already. So it's
Ashley says she's looked into 50 properties over the last several days.
In some cases, people driving hours just to find a home.
Yes.
LA realtor Tanya Stosky says fewer options are already leading to price gouging.
We have greedy landlords who are spiking up the prices. And we also have a bidding war as well.
Mandy Moore, the beloved star of This Is Us, shared an emotional post about her home. While the main structure miraculously survived, it is no longer livable. The garage, back house, and her husband's music studio were all reduced to ashes. As she reflected on the memories tied to those spaces, her pain was palpable. Yet, even in her loss, she expressed gratitude for the safety of her loved ones. It's a bittersweet reminder that in the face of devastation, people cling to what truly matters.
Misinformation is also spreading, just as Facebook has decided to stop fact-checking and go to community notes, I guess they're calling it. Donnie O'Sullivan takes a look at some of the misinformation that's out there right now.
California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things.
Mel Gibson on Fox News primetime after losing his home in the California fires.
And then in the events like this, you sort of look, oh, is it on purpose? Which it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be? I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
Conspiracy theories spreading like wildfire.
This is an obvious land grab. They get them out of their homes this way, and then they can build whatever they want to build.
From the common refrain that it's all part of a government plot.
This is siege by design.
To suspected AI-generated video and images falsely showing the fires approaching the iconic Hollywood sign. Fact-checkers working for Meta have been debunking some of the misinformation on Facebook and Instagram.
Hey everyone.
But last week, Mark Zuckerberg announced this.
We're going to get rid of fact-checkers and replace them with community notes.
Replacing fact-checkers with community notes, a form of crowdsourced fact-checking that is used on X. But critics say Zuckerberg shouldn't be trying to emulate X, pointing to viral misinformation on that platform that goes unchecked. Like this post, viewed almost 500,000 times, baselessly claiming DARPA, a wing of the Department of Defense, started the fires.
I'm here with the fire command team at the Palisades Fire.
Indeed, X's owner, Elon Musk, has spent the last week elevating conspiracy theories about the fires.
What about water availability?
Responding to a post from disgraced conspiracy theorist Alex Jones that the fires are part of a globalist plot, Musk responded, "True."
Antonio Sullivan joins us now. In a situation like this, I mean, it always happens, but it seems particularly acute right now.
Absolutely. And look, one of the big issues, particularly which we saw last year with hurricanes Helene and Milton, and also before that, the Maui wildfires, is that a lot of this misinformation makes people who need support from government agencies, whether it be local agencies or FEMA, distrust. That's something we particularly saw after the hurricanes. We're seeing less of that here right now, but what we are seeing is, and of course, look, there is a political debate to be had about the policies here in California, but it has gone beyond that. We have seen the president-elect coming in with just straight up false claims about policies here. And then, of course, Elon Musk, the owner of X, as you saw in that piece there, engaging with really wild conspiracy theories in terms of that this is a planned event. It's not. But also then really leaning into this sort of culture war stuff about DEI, diversity and inclusion policies and everything else like that. So it's really just a pretty toxic stew online right now. And on top of that, we're seeing changes at Meta coming soon with removing these fact checkers.
Doing yourself. Thanks.
Farrell Gibson suffered a devastating loss while away on the Joe Rogan Experience. Imagine being miles away, anxiously wondering if your home still stands, only to return to nothing but ashes. He called the experience emotional, a word that barely captures the weight of such destruction. Yet, amid his own grief, he recognized the shared sorrow of so many others, showing a deep sense of solidarity during this heartbreaking time.
Very much.
Captain Eric Scott. He is the Public Information Officer for the Los Angeles Fire Department. And Captain, it's great to have you back. Obviously, you've been joining us in these touch and go situations. I know y'all are very busy, so you're joining us on the phone tonight. We've been talking about these red flag warnings that are now in place through Wednesday evening. What is your biggest concern about that tonight?
The wind is king. It always has been, and we saw it be so devastating last week, Tuesday and Wednesday. So we've been getting breaks, and then she comes back, and it's been very difficult. So the area of major concern for the Palisades burn perimeter remains the northeast area and Mandeville Canyon. It's a lot of homes, very narrow hairpin turns that we had to proactively enact parking restrictions to keep vehicles out of areas that turn to choke points in case there's additional evacuations. But right now we got a lot of firefighters lined up there, and our air assets are continuing to do a wonderful job.
Yeah, I mean, we are looking at live pictures right now in LA. This is from KCAL and KCBS. You're showing firefighters trying to contain a fire. I mean, you can see how close it is to a neighborhood on this map as we're looking at this. Mm-hmm. The biggest concern we've heard is new fires starting as a result of this warning, but this particularly dangerous situation warning that is so rare. If they do, are you prepared for that?
Yes, we've battled these PDS incidents in the past, particularly dangerous situations, but they are significant. We take them very seriously. So we have a ton of resources here, over 5,000 firefighters that remain on scene, and we have over 40 helicopters that are assigned. We have a very large contingency of fixed wing, including C-130s from National Guard that's here. Very large DC-10. So some of these will drop water on target hazards to protect property. Others will be more defensive and drop retardant to stop the flames at what we call the 3 R's, the roads, rivers, and ridges. So they're doing a wonderful job, and we continue to expect night operations to continue.
Are you worried that the winds could get so bad, though, that those aerial flights have to stop again, which was, of course, the issue at the beginning of these fires?
Yeah, that's more of a worst case scenario. If that happens, it makes so much more difficult to stop the flame front. So I was talking to our chief pilots today, and some of the thresholds are at 40 miles per hour. but at the ridges, it could be cut even in half. It's really up to the discretion of the chief pilot. The main thing on their mind is safety, of course, safety for their members. If that aircraft goes down, now you have loss of life and it can't do anything. Plus, if the wind is so significant, the water dropping out of the bottom is vaporized, the target's not hit. So we have to consider that. But right now, again, we're really proud to say that boots are on the ground and the birds are in the air.
Yeah, I mean, it's just remarkable what we're looking at now to see how close these firefighters are to this fire. This is in Riverside, California, that we're watching right now. I mean, and obviously dealing with a lot of the brush there and vegetation. I mean, one, this is just amazing to watch. And I know we've expressed, I mean, they have chainsaws in their hands as they are cutting down.
Joshua Jackson's childhood home in Topanga Canyon held decades of memories, making its loss heartbreaking. Yet, his words served as a powerful reminder of what truly matters. At the end of the day, lives are what matter most. His sentiment resonates deeply. Homes can be rebuilt, but lives are irreplaceable.
Losing a home is hard. Losing a home to a wildfire is heartbreaking. But losing a home to a wildfire without insurance, that is life-shattering. And in Los Angeles, it is a grim reality. LA is battling devastating fires. Yet just months ago, thousands had their insurance cancelled. Why is that? Why are so many homes in LA uninsured? To understand that, let's look at State Farm. State Farm is a major US property insurance provider. It is also the biggest insurer in the region. In Los Angeles, in this place alone, State Farm covers around 250,000 homes, 250,000 homes. But here's the problem. Last year, State Farm began pulling back. It cancelled 30,000 insurance policies. In Pacific Palisades, 1,600 policies were dropped. Now, this neighborhood has around 9,000 residential units. The median value of a house is around $3.1 million, so it is an expensive neighborhood. And this matters because now these expensive homes have been gutted. Pacific Palisades is one of the areas hardest hit by the wildfires. It's been nearly wiped out, so all those expensive homes are gone without an insurance cover. And State Farm is not the only one. Other major insurers are also stepping away, leaving thousands of people vulnerable in wildfire-prone areas. Between 2020 and 2022, insurers refused to renew 2.8 million policies. 2.8 million. Over 500,000 were in Los Angeles. Those who did not get their policies cancelled had it even harder. Let me show you this report from the LA Times. One homeowner initially paid $4,500 for insurance. But at the time of renewal, the renewal of the policy, he was given a new quote. This time for $18,000. That was the new insurance amount, $18,000, almost 4 times what he had initially paid. So it is between the devil and the deep blue sea. Either cancelled insurance or exorbitant rates. What explains this trend? In recent years, insurance companies have changed the way they work. Most of them use sophisticated modeling and even artificial intelligence. They can map out the risks of wildfires. Usually, insurance companies cannot cancel policies arbitrarily, but if the risk rises significantly, policies can be dropped. And climate change has increased the risk of fires. So in Los Angeles, policies were dropped like flies. From a company's point of view, the idea was to maximize profits.
Eric Braden, known to millions for his role in The Young and the Restless, faced a similar nightmare. He evacuated just in time, but returning to the rubble of his home left him in sheer disbelief. "It's all burnt down, man," he said, his words echoing the pain of countless others who watched their lives turn to ash in mere hours.
Pay for damages. They don't want to bear the cost of disasters like the current wildfires in Los Angeles. Take State Farm, for example. In 2022, its losses were $6.7 billion. In 2023, it was around $6.3 billion. So scaling back policies meant fewer losses. But where does this leave the residents? Many of them had only one resort, the FAIR Plan, FAIR. It stands for Fair Access to Insurance Requirements. FAIR is funded by California's private home insurers. It offers only limited coverage, yet thousands of people opted for it. In 2020, 1.4 million residents depended on fare. That number went up to 2.7 million in 2023. So more and more people are resorting to this insurance. And this has left the insurer in trouble. It faces a potential loss of $311 billion. All of this raises one question: what could Los Angeles have done better? For one, insurance policies need a complete overhaul. It's not just about mandating coverage. It is about balancing risks and responsibilities. Insurers should be incentivized to stay in wildfire-prone areas. Governments must have risk-sharing mechanisms so that the financial burden does not fall on one party. California seems to have realized it now, the hard way. The state now mandates insurers to provide coverage in wildfire-prone areas. This is a new regulation. It aims to give residents access to more insurance options. Of course, it's a step in the right direction, but is it too late? For homeowners who've already lost everything, it is late. But for the rest, it could provide a lifeline. Because when homes burn, it is not just property, it is lives and futures at stake.
Then there's Paris Hilton, who endured something even more harrowing, watching her Malibu home burn down on live television. Imagine sitting with your family, helpless as flames consume everything you hold dear. She called it heartbreaking beyond words, yet, like many others, she found solace in the safety of her loved ones and pets.
The number of people killed has risen to 16, and a dozen are missing after 5 days of these devastating fires. The two biggest blazes in the city remain largely uncontained, and more strong winds are forecast over the coming days. Now, those two fires have destroyed an area more than twice the size of New York's Manhattan. No cause has yet been established for these fires, and firefighters have made some progress against the worst of the infernos, the Palisades fire, which has scorched nearly 35 square miles. And it's described as being 11% contained. Now, that basically means that barriers or fire breaks have been placed around 11% of its perimeter. And the Palisades fire is now threatening Brentwood. That's one of LA's most exclusive neighborhoods, where celebrities like Arnold Schwarzenegger and the basketball star LeBron James have their homes. There have also been dramatic scenes of aircraft dropping thousands of gallons of fire retardant on the hills and the scrub. It's all in an attempt to put out the blazes. But if the winds do pick up, it will be harder to get those aircraft and the helicopters into the air. More than 12,000 homes and other buildings have been destroyed so far. The second biggest blaze is the Eaton fire, and it's destroyed more than 20 square miles, and it was described as being 15% contained. Firefighters have mostly contained two smaller blazes, the Kenneth and the Hearst fires. However, the National Weather Service is warning that the Santa Ana winds that whipped up the fires at the outset could increase again over the weekend and also in the next coming few days. 7 neighbouring states, the federal government, Canada and also Mexico have sent resources to California. Well, our first report comes from Helena Humphrey, who is in LA.
Still the fires grow, hungry and unrelenting, as firefighters remain locked in a battle against nature's fury. From the sky, it's an all-out assault to keep the largest of these deadly wildfires in the Pacific Palisades from spreading any further, bombarding the flaming hills with water and fire retardant. Meanwhile, on the ground, the National Guard is out in force. A nighttime curfew is in effect to clamp down on those profiting from the chaos.
A lot of crime, a lot of people trying to steal things, but if you protect yourself and your family, I have to be there to protect my wife, my son, my kids, my mom, and I cannot even go and see them. I've been in the street for 3 days. Luckily, my sister lived on the street, or else I'd end up in the street.
But this unprecedented crisis is also bringing out the best in humanity. At a local shelter in Pasadena, volunteers are caring for more than 450 animals, dropped off by evacuees or found wandering amid the destruction. Others who escaped with only the clothes on their backs are desperately searching for the beloved pets they lost in the scramble to get out.
Survivors here have lost everything, entire homes,
reduced to rubble. And with days of winds now forecast, it's a race against time to stop these fires from spreading further. Los Angeles knows it needs all the help it can get. And with a change of administration looming in Washington, local officials say they've yet to hear from the incoming president.
I wrote a letter to President-elect Trump inviting him to engage in wildfire.
Harry Ellis, the charming star of The Princess Bride, lost his home in the devastation. Describing the experience as biblical, he captured the sheer chaos of the disaster. Though the evacuation was a frantic blur, his gratitude for his family's safety shone through the tragedy.
Recovery efforts and to visit the county to see the impact firsthand that it has on every socioeconomic individual in this county.
For now, it is all hands on deck. Firefighting crews have arrived from across the United States, with Mexico and Canada sending in battle-tested teams of their own. They know that any pickup in the now notorious Santa Ana winds could wipe out their hard-won progress in an instant. Helena Humphrey, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Well, as Helena was mentioning there, Mexico is among one of the countries which has sent firefighters to assist in combating these wildfires, as local officials seek to draft in help from across the US as well. 2 plane loads of more than 70 firefighters, along with their equipment, landed in LA International Airport on Saturday, and they were greeted by California's Governor Gavin Newsom. The firefighters are expected to join combating efforts within the next 36 hours, and Gavin Newsom talked about the new help efforts.
This is what friends do. This is what relationships are all about. Friends in need, being there for one another. We want to be there for the people of Mexico in times of need and disasters, and we're incredibly humbled and grateful that the president was willing to send the crew you see behind me. They'll be out on the lines within the next 24, 36 hours, and we're very, very grateful.
Well, they're going to be joining the hundreds of firefighters who are working around the clock to tackle these blazes. Liz Lynn is president of the LA Fire Department Foundation. It's been assisting firefighters in the area. She spoke about just how tough it's been for them.
The firefighters are now on day 5 or 6. They have been there since day 1. We are normally during a fire season, which happens in the fall. Very rarely do we have something in January. You see one fire. There's something like 6 fires, and they keep popping up. And what's even more usual is that the fire behavior and the winds are things we've never seen. We saw this in Hawaii a couple of years ago, and we're seeing it here. And unpredictable behavior, uncontrollable winds driving these fires to cause mass devastation. It's unprecedented in the city of LA and in the nation for what we're seeing. And my only mission is to serve the Los Angeles Fire Department with that, anything that they need during these fires, anything that the budgets didn't support, anything that helps them do the job that they do to save lives and protect the community, we will fund. And our funding depends on the general public. So this morning I was at Palisades and I bought some technology equipment because some of the computers and things were failing. Hero wipes, eye goggles, something as simple as eye drops, making sure that they have everything that they need to keep them safe, to keep them healthy, and to keep them doing this job. I was in Palisades this morning touring the sites. We had a couple of our canine therapy dogs available, not only for the firefighters, but for the families that were starting to come in and seeing their homes and the devastation that a street and a block where it's completely decimated, and then there's one house standing, and you ask yourself why. And so it's very, very emotional. And unfortunately, we have some resources that we can use to help not only the firefighters, but also the public as well.
Jeff Bridges faced the heartbreaking loss of his family home, a place rich in history and memories passed down from his parents. His neighbor, Candy Spelling, experienced the same devastation. The fire didn't just take buildings, it destroyed decades of emotional bonds tied to these cherished homes. Milo Ventimiglia, best known for his role in This Is Us, faced an unimaginable loss at a pivotal moment in his life. As he prepared to welcome his first child with his wife, Jara Mariano, their Malibu home was destroyed. You start thinking about all the memories. he said during an emotional interview, and your heart just breaks. Kelly Teller and her husband, actor Miles Teller, also lost their home. Kelly's Instagram post, featuring a heartbreaking before and after photo of their house, captured the raw emotion of the moment. She confessed, "I wish I grabbed my wedding dress. I wish I did a lot of things differently." Her words echoed the panic and helplessness many feel during such moments of crisis.
We are just back on the ground tonight after having witnessed the urgent effort underway from the air. More than 3 days after the fires first broke out, I just flew up over the fires with Cal Fire, and while we were in the air, we witnessed not only the devastation along the Pacific Coast Highway in Malibu and Pacific Palisades, miles of homes wiped away, but also days into this fire, we witnessed the water being dropped on active fires right now. They are trying to save entire neighborhoods deep in the canyons, and you're about to see it right here. Overnight, peak winds again gusting to 81 miles an hour. Red flag warnings remain in place tonight, and they are very concerned about strong winds in the forecast yet again. It's believed some 12,000 homes and structures have burned to the ground. At least 11 people have died. That number is expected to rise. Our ABC News exclusive right here tonight, the view from above as we travel with Cal Fire. We were in the air late today as crews dropped water on Topanga Canyon below as they try to save homes in Fernwood. The Palisades fire, the biggest by size, more than 20,000 acres now, home after home, street after street, turned to ashes. Just 8% contained. New fires continue to flare up, this one breaking out late today. And tonight, the Eaton fire in Altadena and Pasadena is now the most destructive in LA history, believed to have destroyed more than 7,000 structures, homes, and businesses, just 3% contained. Just 24 hours ago, the Kenneth fire erupting in West Hills, burning over 1,000 acres in just a matter of hours. 8,000 firefighters and emergency personnel now deployed here, including the National Guard. Firefighters from all over the country stepping in, but most live here, working around the clock in horrific conditions, some losing their own homes. They are the heroes here. And tonight, the questions now being asked about decisions made early on in these fires. But we do begin tonight with our flight with Cal Fire up over the devastation and the fires here still burning as we come on the air here in the West on this third night from California. Tonight, the ABC News exclusive. We take flight with Cal Fire up over the Pacific Coast Highway, headed toward the Pacific Palisades. And the first images we see here, the coastline. The homes of Malibu that once lined the ocean are gone.
It's just stunning to look at this stretch along the Pacific Coast Highway here in Malibu. You can see it right over the shoulder here. Home after home just completely gone.
They are taking us to where they say there is a firefight right now from the air. They are now dropping water. But before we even get there, over this ridge, the Pacific Palisades, entire communities wiped away, homes burned to the ground.
This is just a devastating view as we fly over Pacific Palisades. You can see down below just how quickly these fires spread.
Cal Fire Deputy Incident Commander Justin McComb.
When you look at the scope of the devastation here, what kind of winds were you dealing with in those first 24 hours?
The winds that we saw were 70, 80 miles an hour along the Pacific Coast Highway, and that was what the
Inira Noseby's mother lost her cherished Malibu bungalow, a sanctuary she lovingly called her happy place. In her grief, she took a moment to thank firefighters and first responders, reflecting the collective gratitude many feel for those who risk their lives battling these devastating infernos.
The firefighters were dealing with, there was embers just flying across laterally. Very difficult to even do anything as far as perimeter control. They were putting the edges of the fire out. It was mainly going house to house and protecting as many homes as you could. And the priority was for the life safety to try to get people out of the fire.
He tells me 3 days into this historic disaster, they are still fighting the fires here. We see bulldozers on this ridge trapping the fire.
You can see the flames burning over our shoulder here. This is now 3 days into this. Almost impossible to get to that.
And then we see it. Choppers in the air, crossing the canyon, dropping water, trying to protect the homes with flames moving in.
You can see the urgent effort here right now. This is Topanga Canyon. They're trying to save the homes in Fernwood. That helicopter just dropped water from the air. 3 days into this disaster, they are still fighting fires here, and they have a tool now at their disposal, which is water in the air.
There are so many fires still burning here, more than 72 hours now after the first fires began. Tonight, the Palisades Fire, the Eaton Fire, the Hearst Fire, the Lydia Fire, the Kenneth Fire, and the newest fire to break out, the Archer Fire, all still burning. Back on the ground tonight, the family's returning home to see what, if anything, is left. The father who told me his wife, his 2 boys are safe, but they lost everything. And while we were in that neighborhood, we learned of another family nearby. They had not been back. One of the children, 21-year-old Jakob Brown, going back today, and he showed me what he found.
David, I'm sure you saw, the entire town is gone. Our lives, our homes, our friends, everyone has lost everything. I don't understand how you can attempt to rebuild an entire community without schools and roads and homes. It's devastation beyond the comprehensible.
Jakob's childhood home, now nothing but ashes. He rings the doorbell of a friend's home, haunting because it still rings, though behind it there is nothing left. The alarms still ringing here in what was once a church and a school.
There's still hot spots, active fire.
Just a few miles to the east, David Hansen is still waiting to get back in to see his mother's home.
LA Fire Department, total heroes, doing a great job.
David giving a thumbs up to the firefighters. His mother, a senior, capturing video from outside her home just 30 minutes after the fire broke out nearby. Her neighbors were trying to use water from their pool to protect their home. Tonight, across Los Angeles, at least 11 lives now lost. It's believed more than 12,000 structures, homes, and businesses damaged or destroyed. More than 55 square miles burned. More than 150,000 under evacuation orders.
Jamie Chung and her husband, Brian Greenberg, didn't just lose a home, they lost a part of themselves. Amid their grief, they used their platform to direct followers to fundraisers for other fire victims, demonstrating the power of community and compassion in times of need.
We want to take you now to a press conference where Los Angeles County officials are giving new details on the impacts from the windstorm affecting the region's wildfires. Let's take a listen.
To go out countywide yesterday after the first erroneous alert was corrected. We've been working tirelessly with FEMA, the FCC, the state, and our region's telecommunications providers, and we've made the preliminary determination that the echo alerts happened as cell towers came back online after they were knocked offline due to this disaster. The outdated alerts were cached in the system, and as they came back online, started being released to the public. We are very grateful to our federal and state partners who are working with the cell phone providers to make sure that all of these outdated alerts are flushed from the cell phone towers so that this ceases. We believe this process is largely complete, and we are working with our federal partners and the providers to ensure that there is not a reoccurrence of the alerts going out in error. This has been frustrating, unacceptable, and the public is in the most need of accurate information, and we are moving forward rapidly to reestablish that. Finally, the press release spells out some of the immediate improvements that we are concurrently making to establish a more robust multi-layered notification system. We're enhancing 211 call network to respond to the public's urgent need for information. Technology, it can be great. These emergency alerts helped us evacuate hundreds of thousands of people in immediate life safety measures. We've undoubtedly saved lives. But the last couple of days have also reminded us that technology is vulnerable to the impacts of a disaster, especially unprecedented ones. So I will close by reminding everyone in the public, please, for your safety, the safety of your family and friends, to receive emergency alerts, you can sign up for our local program, which will be utilized by the state by going to Alert LA County. These are customized alerts. They are different than the wireless emergency alert. When you sign up, you can put landlines, your cell phone. You could receive text and email messages. Go to lacounty.gov/emergency to sign up for alert LA County. With that, I thank you, and I'll introduce Fire Chief Anthony Maroney.
So good morning. I will be providing an Eaton Fire update. The fire is now estimated to be 14,117 acres.
Even Hollywood legend Billy Crystal wasn't spared. His home of 46 years, where he raised his children and grandchildren, is now gone. Pain in his voice as he shared his loss resonated deeply with many who have experienced similar heartbreak.
Tonight, there's a new threat from those devastating and deadly wildfires. About 9 million people across much of Los Angeles and Ventura counties under a new red flag warning and on alert for more dangerous fire weather conditions. The emergency is not over. This fire NATO captured on camera in the Pacific Palisades. Evacuations expanding tonight. Thousands of homes and businesses destroyed, at least 11 people killed. Governor Gavin Newsom doubling the number of National Guard to more than 1,600 to help battle the flames. The ground and air assault continue as the fires are now threatening a growing list of neighborhoods, including the exclusive Los Angeles suburb of Brentwood. And the finger-pointing and controversy tonight over what, if anything, could have been done to prevent the wildfires from causing so much death and destruction. We have team coverage tonight in the fire zone. ABC's Matt Rivers leads us off from Brentwood.
Tonight, with fires still raging in Los Angeles, evacuations are expanding. The Brentwood and Encino neighborhoods under threat as residents make their way out of the area.
It's very difficult, but we're alive. We're alive.
Fire retardant drops starting.
In the skies above the wildfires, firefighting aircraft diving again and again, dropping flame-retardant chemicals and water to stem the fire threat. Those Santa Ana winds temporarily subsiding today, giving them and the thousands of crew battling the flames on the ground a fighting chance.
We were sitting here, they probably did 50 drops between this whole line here. So,
and that's the difference between the first days of these fires, where the winds were so high you didn't have that kind of air support that you would normally have.
Yeah, and then the amount of resources here as well.
But even as first responders are making gains, the Palisades fire, starting on day one of all this, now expanding in other directions. Some homes here already burning. Those active flames we've been watching since the first day of this fire, now here in Brentwood. So you can see with these wind gusts, those flames trying to force their way up from the bottom of the canyon. And as they do so, they're getting closer and closer to this house here. This is somebody's patio that we're on. And you can see the firefighters doing their best to make sure the flames don't get this high. Without these firefighters here right now, the house here, other houses in this neighborhood, almost certainly gone. Residents here have largely gone, others trying to bring desperately needed supplies to first responders in the area. Traffic on some roads there backed up for nearly 2 hours. The Eaton fire today now at 15% containment, the Palisades fire at 11%. Over 12,000 structures.
As the fires rage on, the devastation continues to spread. New areas are under threat, and thousands of families are waking up to evacuation orders, grabbing whatever they can carry and leaving behind the lives they've spent years building. First responders are working tirelessly, risking their lives to fight the flames, but the battle is far from over.
Have been destroyed in total. Fire officials warning those strong winds that helped create the most destructive fire event in California's history are expected to ramp back up once again tonight and into next week. Overnight, this flare-up overwhelming a crew on the ground. Firefighters on the front lines forced to retreat from the flames, leaving these vehicles behind. That flare-up spawning this fire NATO. And this harrowing video from earlier this week, a reminder of the hellish conditions endured by ground crews. This man, Alec Gellis, doing everything he could, fighting to save his girlfriend's house from the oncoming flames, eventually forced to leave, unable to save her home.
It's being eaten up by all of that valuable fire retardant. Without that fire retardant, we would be in big trouble.
Firefighters here, though, making progress on getting these fires under control. 11 deaths have been confirmed, 8 from the Eaton fire and 3 from Palisades. And tonight, at least 13 people are missing. ABC News Today learning the identity of 2 of the victims of the Eaton fire. A father and son, Anthony and Justin Mitchell of Altadena. Both were in wheelchairs and awaiting evacuation. His daughter remembering him as, quote, a great dad that any little girl could want. Tonight, the full scope of the loss of life still unclear. Law enforcement also facing challenges, arresting 27 people in total, saying some violated a curfew implemented last night, others taken into custody on suspicion of looting. Officials also warning business owners from taking part in price gouging.
People who have been victimized, being victimized again in contravention and in violation of the law against price gouging in California in the time of a natural disaster in a state of emergency. It's wrong.
Today, California Governor Gavin Newsom doubling the amount of National Guard deployed in Los Angeles. Law enforcement today says they are now able to begin rescue and recovery efforts, using grid searches and cadaver dogs to try and locate the missing.
We hope to find everybody safe. We want to bring closure to the family.
Today, the city announcing that the ATF would lead a task force to investigate the cause of the Palisades fire. Pressed about what could have started the Eaton fire, officials say the investigation is fluid.
We are not going to leave any rock unturned if this is a criminal act.
Still so many questions about what caused these fires. Matt Rivers joining us now from Brentwood. And Matt, how long have some of these firefighters been out there, and what are they most worried about in the coming days?
Yeah, Whit, there's really not much rest to be had out here. I had a conversation with a firefighter earlier today who told me he's been out here for 2 straight days. But I think every firefighter you talk to a man, to a woman back there fighting these fires, they'll say this is what they do, this is what they train for, they wouldn't be anywhere else. But their jobs will get harder over the next few days. Almost assuredly, these winds that are picking up in speed as we speak, only going to get worse. Whit.
Matt Rivers for us. Thank you.
The emotional toll of these wildfires is immense. Losing a home isn't just about the physical structure. It's the loss of a lifetime of memories, milestones, and moments. For both celebrities and everyday people, the pain is deeply personal. Yet amid the grief, there is resilience. Communities are coming together, offering shelter, food, and emotional support, showing strength and unity that is truly inspiring in the face of such devastation.
The densely populated 25-mile expanse north of downtown LA. Tonight, still no cause has been identified for any of the largest of these fires. Just north of the Palisades fire tonight, the Kenneth Fire, erupting late yesterday afternoon near the Ventura County line. Firefighters battling the blaze from the ground, helicopters dropping water from above. A line of firefighters heading up the hill together, tackling yet another fire head-on. The all-out assault continuing through the night. Headlamps helping crews navigate the terrain. Tonight, the before and after images from these fires, and they're staggering. This is a condo building on Sunset Boulevard in Pacific Palisades, and this is what's left of it. A Chevron gas station in Altadena before and now. And this cafe in Altadena, the sign once hanging out front, crashing to the ground. And tonight here, an eerie new look at the wildfires. A home security camera capturing the moments flames close in on Walter and Yalda Cease's Altadena home, embers flying through the air. The couple had evacuated, and now they're back.
It's overwhelming. I don't know how we're going to get through it, but we will. I know we will. It's just going to be a long process.
They and their 2 dogs are safe, but they have nothing. And like so many here, they tell us they will rebuild. While back in the air tonight, firefighters dropping water from above while they can, knowing dangerous winds are ahead.
When you think about these firefighters who really haven't had a break since this started, and to look at this forecast and see that these winds are coming yet again, what do you think?
It's tough, but we've bolstered our assets. We've actually had not only some of the regional resources from Southern California, but we've got resources from Northern California. We've got resources from Nevada, Colorado on the way. So we've got resources coming in to back us up on this.
With these winds returning.
Correct.
So many of these firefighters have not had a break since this all started. And tonight, the desperate battle from the very start against the flames here. An army of firefighters right there in the front lines in harrowing conditions. Reports of hydrants without water or with little pressure. One reservoir offline for repairs. ABC's Matt Gutman tonight with firefighters at one fire station in Pacific Palisades that actually survived.
Tonight on the Palisades Fire, the back-breaking round-the-clock race to put out remaining hotspots like these still burning this morning.
We are still seeing homes burst into flames here days after the initial fire passed through. Fire crew just arrived here for the first time.
But swirling around them, controversy about whether Los Angeles officials failed to supply enough water.
As we hear these stories of loss and resilience, we're reminded of life's fragility and what truly matters. Material possessions can be replaced, but the love of family, the strength of community, and the power of hope endure. For the people of Los Angeles, this tragedy is far from over. Yet, if there's one thing we've learned, it's that they're not facing it alone. Together, they will rebuild stronger than ever. For the rest of us, it's a reminder to cherish what we have and to offer support to those in need whenever we can.
Australian actor Steve Guttenberg, who lives near the Pacific Palisades fire and jumped into action to help. Steve, we're used to seeing you on screen in a much different capacity. Usually it's some kind of comedic role. I know this is far from funny. So talk to me about what it's been like for you, for your family, and your neighbors right now.
It's just been the biggest fire I've ever seen in my life. And 9 o'clock in the morning, everything was fine. At 10 o'clock in the morning, the sky was black and the fire was raging. I don't know how it started, but Sunset Boulevard was packed with cars. And I tried to get back to my house, and Palisades Drive was packed. So I wasn't able to get up there. And all of a sudden, people were just fleeing. I mean, it was, 2 miles of cars packed. And the fires, they started with these little circles of red, like little devils. Before you knew it, the wind, which is the strongest wind you've ever seen. I mean, it's 80 miles an hour, and it's a hot wind. And it started just spreading all these little pockets of burning embers. And then before you knew it, a whole hill was on fire. And the hills behind the schools were on fire. And then the police were telling the people to leave their cars. And the reason I want to be on the air is to tell people in a crisis, if you abandon your car in the street, leave your keys in the car. So guys like me can move your car so fire trucks can get in there. And if you're able-bodied, make sure you can help people. Just if you're able-bodied and you're strong, stay behind and help people. There are people in wheelchairs. There are older people who can't get anywhere. They have to walk down hills. They need help. Little kids, mothers having anxiety attacks, panic attacks. You need to stay behind and you need to help them. And we also need to do this during the real life, during real time. When the crisis is not happening, we need to be nice to each other and help each other as much as we can. But most importantly, if there's a crisis, leave your keys in your car so that guys like me can move your car so fire trucks can get up there and help people and save lives.
Now, Steve, presumably people are leaving their cars because the flames are getting too close and they feel they have to escape on foot. So how are you then going and moving those cars? That sounds incredibly dangerous.
Well, it has to be done. I just decided that all these cars are abandoned. We got to move them out because emergency vehicles need to get up the hill, especially to the highlands. So I just started moving cars and pushing up the curbs and leaving the keys in them, but just moving. And the funny thing is, I don't know how to drive a Tesla. I don't know how to start a Tesla. There were probably 20 Teslas in the street, and I didn't know how to start them. And then there were people who locked their cars as if they were going to a mall, and I don't know if they're afraid of looters or what they're afraid of.
This disaster has revealed both the worst of nature and the best of humanity. Celebrities and everyday people alike are stepping up, turning their grief into action and showing that even in the darkest times there is light. Let's hold on to that light as we move forward together.